You've been carrying more than you think. Not because you're weak, but because you've been surviving. Because most of what weighs you down is invisible. So let's bring it into the light gently. Now, there are seasons in life where you feel heavier than usual, even if nothing dramatic has happened. You wake up tired. You move through the day with a quiet weight in your chest. You may feel stretched, even when you haven't done anything out of the ordinary. And you start to wonder, why am I like this? What's wrong with me? But nothing is wrong with you. You're carrying things you haven't named yet. Because most of what shapes your emotional life, it doesn't announce itself. It doesn't show up with labels or warnings. It shows up as tension in your shoulders, as a shorter fuse, as a sense of distance from yourself, as a quiet ache you can't explain. And this episode is about that invisible weight. The emotional, relational, and mental load you've been holding without realizing it. Because belonging begins with honesty, and honesty begins with naming what you've been carrying. Because some of what you're carrying is emotional residue, the leftover feelings from moments you didn't have time to process, the disappointments you brushed aside, the conversations you avoided, the grief you tucked away because life kept moving, the stress you normalized because you didn't have another option. These things don't disappear. They settle. They accumulate because they become part of your emotional landscape. And then there's the relational weight, the expectations you've been trying to meet, the roles you've been performing, the responsibilities you've taken on because someone had to, the pressure to be strong and to be available, to be understanding, to be the one who holds everything together. You carry these things quietly because you're used to being the steady one, the reliable one, the one who doesn't fall apart. But even steady people get tired. You see, even reliable people need rest. Even strong people need space to breathe. And then there's the mental weight, the constant planning, the worrying, the anticipating, the managing of details no one else sees, the invisible labor of keeping your life and your relationships and your work and your inner world functioning. You carry all of this without applause, without acknowledgement, without pause. And over time, the weight becomes normal, so normal that you stop noticing it until a moment like this. A moment where your body and your emotions or your spirit says, enough, enough. So look at what you're holding. This season of your life is asking you to see the truth. You've been carrying too much alone. Not because you're failing, but because you're human. And the moment you name what you're carrying, something shifts. The weight doesn't vanish, but it becomes visible. And what becomes visible becomes manageable. So let's name some of it. Maybe you're carrying unresolved grief, not the dramatic kind, but the quiet grief of things that didn't go away the way you hoped. Maybe you're carrying emotional exhaustion from being the strong one for too long. And maybe you're carrying loneliness, even if you're surrounded by people. And maybe you're carrying fear about the future. Maybe you're carrying the pressure to hold everything together. Maybe you're carrying the weight of unspoken expectations. Or maybe you're carrying the fatigue of pretending you're okay. Whatever it is, it deserves to be acknowledged. Because belonging isn't just about connection with others. Belonging begins with belonging to yourself, with being honest about what's happening inside you. And here's the truth most people never hear. You don't have to earn the right to put something down. You don't have to justify your exhaustion, and you don't have to explain why you're tired. You don't have to prove that your weight is heavy, If it's heavy to you, it's heavy. And that's enough. Because this season of your life is inviting you to stop carrying everything in silence, to stop minimizing your own emotional reality, to stop pretending that your load is lighter than it is. Because the moment you acknowledge what you've been carrying, you create space. Space for rest and clarity and belonging. You don't have to fix everything today. You don't have to release everything at once. And you don't have to have a plan. You just have to tell the truth. I've been carrying more than I realized. That sentence alone is a form of belonging. It's a return to yourself. It's the beginning of emotional honesty, the doorway to relief. And it's the next step in this January arc. So you take care and stay connected.